Right now at noon, the House will vote later today on reopening the government after 43 days. Why GOP leaders are optimistic and when air travel could get back to normal. Plus, the Department of Public Instruction releases its school report card using a new scoring system. This is News 3 Now at noon. Thanks for joining us on a Wednesday afternoon. I'm Josh Breiter. Day 43 of the longest shutdown in government history may end up being the final day of the impasse. The Senate funding deal cleared another hurdle overnight, paving the way for debate and a final vote in the House this evening. Natalie Brand is at the White House.
House Speaker Mike Johnson says he's optimistic ahead of tonight's vote to reopen the government.
We're very optimistic about the vote tally tonight. We think this is going to happen, and we're sorry that it took this long.
The Senate-passed deal made it through the House Rules Committee on a party-line vote early Wednesday morning.
Democrats thought this political stunt would give them leverage. They used the American people as leverage, and for what? Really? So big insurance companies can continue collecting big payouts.
Republicans on the committee rejected Democratic amendments, including one to extend the Enhanced Affordable Care Act health subsidies Democrats have been demanding.
This should be something that Republicans should have come and negotiated with us, but they wouldn't do that.
As House members race to return to Capitol Hill,
I'm on my way to D.C.
Some are finding creative ways to get back amid airport snarls, including Wisconsin Congressman Derek Van Orden riding 950 miles on his Harley. Even with an end in sight, the question remains how long before government functions can return to normal. Air travelers are expecting another day of delays, and Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy says it's still too early to know when flight reductions at major airports could be lifted.
We're going to wait to see the data on our end before we take out the restrictions in travel, that 6% we have in place right now. But it depends on controllers coming back to work.
Duffy says air traffic controllers will start getting paid within 24 to 48 hours of the government reopening. Natalie Brand, CBS News, the White House.
As for SNAP benefits, the Supreme Court is extending a pause on a judge's ruling ordering the administration to pay full benefits ahead of tonight's vote. Well, the congressional petition to release the Jeffrey Epstein files will have enough signatures to force a vote on the matter. Incoming Democratic Congresswoman Adelita Grijalva will provide that 218th signature following her afternoon swearing in. It will pave a way for a measure to compel the release of the Epstein files, which the White House has been fighting for months. But the measure likely won't become law even if it passes the House. It would have to pass the Republican-led Senate and be signed by President Trump, who has disparaged the effort. Still, the vote would put lawmakers on the record on the issue. The news comes as newly released private emails show that Jeffrey Epstein mentioned President Trump a number of times over a 15-year span. Let's get a first check of your first warn forecast now. Here's meteorologist Jacob Montesano, and we're warming things up outside.
Yeah, temperatures a lot more comfortable today than the last couple of days. And as we look at the current temperature, the 52 degrees in Madison is already warmer than our forecasted high of the day. So we may see temperatures get maybe into the middle 50s. And this is just Dane County. A few areas off to the west already in that middle 50 range. 53 for a lot of southern Wisconsin. Still in the 40s for some areas. But comparing the temperatures to this time yesterday, about 15 degrees warmer, 10 to 15 degrees roughly for everybody. And the temperatures are actually going to continue to warm up from here. Now, we are a bit breezy today. Wind speeds up around 15 to 20 miles per hour. Definitely noticeable as you step outside, and the winds are going to continue to be pretty gusty throughout the afternoon with gusts up around 25 to 30 miles per hour. But they're slowly going to calm down after sunset. And tomorrow, as I mentioned, temperatures will warm up, and we're also not going to be as windy. So we're looking very comfortable for the end of the week. Today, this afternoon, going to see plenty of sunshine continue, barely any clouds in the sky. Middle to lower 50s will continue as well. Overnight lows are going to drop to around 30. Definitely cold, but this is pretty normal for this time of the year. Some of the low temperatures at the end of the week, though, may only stay in the 40s. So certainly going to stay mild. And here's a look at tomorrow's forecast. A little bit warmer with more sunshine. But I'll talk about possible 60s returning and show you our next chance of precipitation. But based on these temperatures, it's mostly going to be in the form of rain. I'll talk more about that, though, coming up a bit later.
All right, Jacob, we'll see you then. Thank you. Well, just like your kids, public school districts get an annual report card, and this year the Department of Public Instruction used a new scoring system. Schools and districts are evaluated across 4 priority areas: achievement, growth, target group outcomes, and attendance and graduation rates. Using that data, schools and districts get an overall score and star rating. Let's break down those results. There are 378 public school districts in the state. Of those, 355 exceeded expectations. 29 significantly exceeded them. Looking at the 1,920 public schools, 1,625 met or exceeded expectations. No school received 0 stars. Let's look now at districts your kids may be attending. Middleton Cross Plains got 5 stars, Verona 4 stars, Madison Schools and Janesville received 3. Beloit only 2, meeting few expectations set by DPI. DPI says they will focus on educator recruitment and retention, innovative education and mental health resources, and also modernizing the department. Governor Evers says federal aid to rural schools is delayed. The first round of impact aid were supposed to arrive in October. The funds for the Department of Education would help rural districts cover payroll, transportation costs, programs, and new positions. The state is supposed to receive $23 million in aid this year. Much of this money is set to support schools operated by federally recognized tribal nations. Right now, 2/3 of rural Wisconsinites will have to travel 30 minutes or more to reach emergency care. To improve rural health care, the Department of Health Services is asking the federal government for $1 billion. This funding comes from the Federal Rural Health Transformation Program. The $50 billion program was created to offset Medicare cuts from President Trump's budget bill signed into law over the summer.
Those cuts were large and devastating. At the same time, in the same bill, they added this money in to say, let's improve the structures, let's make things more efficient.
DHS officials say the money will fund recruitment and retention of healthcare workers, boosting technology and innovation, and strengthen rural care partnerships. The department won't know if they receive funding until the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid announce award decisions at year's end. The Goodman Community Center is getting ready to help families in need for Thanksgiving. This year's basket drive starts Saturday, and they could use your help. The center aims to fill 4,000 baskets with food and donations. News 3 Now is once again a proud partner this year. You can start donating money online right now at goodmancenter.org/donate. UW men's basketball is moving full steam ahead with another win under their belt. Ball State was in town last night, and Nolan Winter had a standout performance, 19 points and 10 rebounds for the 7-foot junior. Badgers won it 86-55. Next up, Southern Illinois Edwardsville on Monday, then their first real test of the season as they go on the road against 7th-ranked BYU next Friday. Meanwhile, the Bucks are set to take on LeBron James and the Lakers Saturday night, and you can watch that game right here on WISC TV Channel 3 at 7 o'clock. This is just one of their 7 games that will be broadcast over the air for free. For a full list of the other games we're carrying, find this story on channel3000.com. Coming up next on News 3 Now noon, how Firehouse Subs is celebrating Thanksgiving. Plus, why By Heart is recalling some of its baby formula.
An end to the federal government shutdown may be in sight, with the House set to take up the Senate's amended funding bill. But airlines have warned it could still take some time for air travel to get back to normal. More than 1,200 flights were canceled in the U.S. Tuesday, according to FlightAware, with air carriers expected to cut 6% of their flights for Wednesday. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy says the upcoming weekend could be critical if the stalemate continues. By Heart is expanding its voluntary recall of infant formula, now pulling all cans off store shelves. At least 15 babies have been hospitalized across a dozen states with infant botulism after consuming the product. This as the CDC and FDA are investigating a broader outbreak of infant botulism that has affected more than 80 babies. The FDA says consumers should stop using the formula and throw it away, and to report any issues to a healthcare provider. And it's all gravy for Firehouse Subs fans this Thanksgiving. The firefighter-founded sandwich chain is selling gravy extinguishers to help fix any turkey disasters. All proceeds will go toward purchasing equipment for firefighters. The gravy extinguishers go on sale Friday for $20 online at firehousegravyrescue.com. That's your CBS News Money Watch report. For more, log on to cbsmoneywatch.com. At the CBS Broadcast Center, I'm Jesse Mitchell.
Here's the stock report at the noon hour. The Dow is up 397 points. NASDAQ is down 68, and the S&P 500 up this hour 3. Our call for action volunteers are in the building taking your consumer complaints and taking action on your behalf. Call for action at 608-270-2833 or submit a claim anytime at channel3000.com/call-for-action. Pam has today's farm numbers up next, and Jacob is tracking the first warn forecast. Then later at 4, Lisa Briggs is taking your plant and garden questions. Just email them now to tips@channel3000.com for a chance to be answered live at 4. Welcome back at noon. Let's check in now with Pam Jahnke for the Midwest Farm Report. Welcome back, Pam.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it. Yeah, today we're focused in. I know everybody's keeping an eye on Washington, D.C. and the federal government shutdown. But remember, here in Madison especially, we've got a lot of activity happening down at the state capitol. Some of it involves production agriculture. Travis Trennell, our Assembly Ag Committee member, a farmer himself from southwest Wisconsin, says there's a couple big items that farmers are going to want to keep an eye on, and many have very strong opinions one way or the other. The first is that they want to take a look at restricting farmland ownership by foreign adversaries here in the state. Trennell says that the proposal takes a look at the value of being in a system where your property rights are at play. China, for example, does not allow their citizens to own land. They want to make sure that that type of entity is not in Wisconsin gobbling up large tracts of farmland. Now, some people have been concerned about whether or not they'll be able to find shell companies and their true origins, but the bottom line is they're talking about it now at the state capitol. Another item that Trennell is focused in on, the right to repair bill. This would basically require dealers to replace or refund on defective farm equipment. You know, in Wisconsin, we've got the Lemon Law, which kind of protects you on your car or truck purchase. He wants something similar to that to make sure that farm investments like farm machinery are covered the same. So like I said, there are things happening at the state capitol that our Wisconsin farmers want to keep an eye on. Same thing when it comes to dairy policy. Chad Zuliger, executive director of the Dairy Business Association, says they're continuing to advocate for grazing initiatives. They want to expand beef on dairy, and a grazing initiative might be able to help that. What they'd really like to do is establish a little bit of a grant program to help farmers make that transition into the grazing realm, looking for in the neighborhood of about $1 million of grant funding that would come through the state. So a couple things to be discussed. We'll be discussing that, of course, at the Wisconsin Farm Bureau Federation's annual meeting up in Wisconsin Dells starting on Friday night with their Young Farmer event, which will act as your host. And then Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, they'll be involved in policy discussions. If you haven't already signed up, make sure that you're getting to that task. So the markets are continuing to kind of weave and wind with USDA reports that have been released. Tuesday was the World Ag Supply Demand Report, getting a little bit more dairy data this week. And dairy is one of those areas that's continuing to really languish. I see our dairy product prices took another shot down again today, not knowing if there really has been a lot of holiday transactions, and we're getting to the end of that window right now, at least as far as the short term. Barrel cheese today down 3 at 164.5. 40-pound block cheese dropped another 8, 155 1/4. Double A butter, after a 3-cent drop yesterday, unchanged at $1.50 a pound. So again, our dairy complex, one area where I've got my eye trained, and sometimes the numbers, Josh, that we share on the TV really don't reflect the real pain that our Wisconsin dairy farmers are seeing at the mailbox or their milk price check when they get it from the cooperative or wherever they're marketing. So that's going to be a story that we're going to be following, no doubt, right through the end of the calendar year.
Yeah, more reasons why we need to support our dairy farmers this holiday season and buy that butter, buy that milk, buy those eggs, right, Pam?
Yep, that's right. Send those cheese boxes now.
Do it, and you won't regret it. All right, Pam Jahnke, thank you. Well, time now for your certified most accurate forecast in Madison with First Warn meteorologist Jacob Montesano. Hi, Jacob.
Hey, Josh, temperatures a lot better than where we were to start the week, and these temperatures are going to continue to rise, potentially into the lower 60s for a few areas with very little rainfall during that time. But then as we get towards next week, we will see more seasonable temperatures, and obviously this time of the year, those seasonable temperatures are pretty cool. But before I talk about the forecast, let's take a look at some of the pictures from last night. We had a very good view of the northern lights. This photo sent in by our own Blaze Keller showing the sky very green here, but a lot of the red shade was very visible as well. This photo was sent in by Barb, so thank you, Barb, for submitting your photo. I have a few more, but I do want to mention you could submit your own photo by scanning this QR code in the top left of the screen. This next photo sent in by Marie. I mean, that is about as good of a picture as you're going to get of the northern lights, and we still have a few more. This one sent in by Donna. Perfect mixture of that green and red. You know, I live kind of closer to the downtown area. Didn't really see a lot of it when I did step out. Maybe my eyes were deceiving me and I saw a little bit, but certainly not to the level of some of these photos. So thank you all for submitting your photos. And if you missed it, we are likely to see it visible again tonight. It is expected to dip south across all of Wisconsin and possibly visible on the horizon across as far south as central Illinois. Now, fun fact, if last night's northern lights is registered as a level 5 geometric storm, this would be the first year ever that we had an F5 tornado, a Category 5 hurricane, and a level 5 geometric storm. Now, that's not confirmed, but if last night was at that level, that'd be the first time we've ever seen that in a single year. Now, for the view tonight, we're expecting clear skies. So if you would like to see the northern lights, it is expected to be visible again across our area, and we're going to have the clear skies to complement it. Now, looking at, in general, the forecast going forward, we're not going to see much rain. Here's a look at the precipitation chances, rain or snow, a little bit for the day on Saturday into Saturday night, but it looks like the weekend is going to be pretty dry, and we do have some more precipitation chances next week. And once we get to next week, we could see some snow, but any precipitation that falls Saturday will certainly be rain because we could see 2 days in a row of high temperatures in the lower 60s. Very nice to end the week, but the cold front's going to move through with that small rain chance and cool the temperatures off for next week. Now, before I talk about the full 10-day forecast, let's take a look at the Badgers and Packers game forecast. For the Badgers on Saturday, they play at 11 a.m. at Indiana. And conditions there look very comfortable. They're going to be in the 60s with a good amount of cloud cover, but still also some good peaks of sunshine, maybe some rain for Indiana at night. And it's not going to be as pleasant for the Packers game in New York against the Giants. Now, the better chance of rain will be early, and it's very possible that all of the rain that's expected for New York on Sunday will clear out by the game, maybe especially for the second half of the game. But just be aware of that rain chance. Temperatures not too cool, but definitely on the chillier side. Now, looking here at our full 10-day forecast, again, very dry for the next 7 days. Better precipitation chances towards the end of the 10-day forecast, and we are going to see those temperatures warming up into the lower 60s before they drop back to more normal levels throughout much of next week. And as I mentioned, with those precipitation chances next week, could see some snowfall, but pretty unclear how those systems will develop. For right now, just enjoy the nice weather that we're going to see the next couple of days.
Feels good outside. All right, Jacob, thank you. Coming up next at noon, Angie Horkin from the Wisconsin Beef Council with her favorite recipe for beefy. We're going way back Wednesday into our News 3 Now archive. 5 years ago this month, Angie Horkin shared one of her favorite soup recipes with us from the Wisconsin Beef Council. Here's her take on beefy harvest soup.
This is one of my favorite seasons for cooking because I love making comforting foods with beef. We have so many great beef cuts that work perfectly in those low, slow soup recipes that you can make that make the house just smell wonderful. So a perfect weeknight meal because it's only a 25-minute start to finish recipe. So I start with lean ground beef. I used ground sirloin. That way I didn't have to drain any drippings. I browned it in my stock pot. And then I added 2 cups of water, 4 cups of beef stock, a can of stewed tomatoes, actually the Italian style or Italian flavored stewed tomatoes, a cup and a half of frozen mixed vegetables, and then a cup of elbow noodles or any kind of macaroni that you like, a smaller kind. So then Bring it to a boil, turn it down, simmer it about 10 minutes till your noodles are about done. And then secret ingredient, beef smoked sausage. So this is half of one ring of a beef smoked sausage. Just sliced it up, put it in there, and you're gonna just put that in the last 3 minutes. And oh my goodness, it gives it such a great added kick of beef flavor. So this is called our Beefy Harvest Soup. What says fall better than this? A nice Beefy Harvest Soup, hot, warm meal. And it's quick, 25 minutes, so you can make it on a weeknight easily after work or after school.
Here's Jacob with a final check of your forecast.
Thanks, Josh. Warmer to end the week, staying dry, and then we'll see much more normal temperatures for next week with highs mostly in the 40s.
Well, before we go at noon, we have some special visitors in the studio. They're waving at the camera. This is Sun Prairie West getting a tour of News 3 Now. Thanks for stopping by, guys, and thanks for watching News 3 Now at noon. Coming up next is The Bold and the Beautiful. We'll see you